The personal legend is defined in The Alchemist by Pablo Coelho, and the quick summary here is that Santiago came from a family of priests, but he desired more. He had a love for travel. And this idea of personal legend starts with going on this journey of leaving your current reality until you reach your ultimate treasure. The only way to be able to fulfill this dream for him was to become a shepherd. And in his travels of becoming a shepherd, and as a shepherd, he encountered key characters to help him reach his truest self. And the first big lesson here is to follow your call to adventure. And this is when Santiago left his old life and set out as a shepherd. And deep down, he already knew that adventure was calling his name, but he couldn't really explain that feeling. And he knew that leaving his reality was the only way he was able to live his own reality. And in this journey, Santiago had these dreams of great pyramids and having treasure at the bottom of those pyramids, but kept waking up before he was able to know where the treasure lied. And through this call to adventure, he first met his key character, the Gypsy. The Gypsy here took Santiago's hand and retold his dreams, and she was the first character to push Santiago onto this more adventurous and true path. And this is where Santiago was introduced to Omens. And Omens here are the signs from the universe. These are the signs that tell you that you're on the right path. But here, Santiago was still in denial and continued to move on. And this is where he meets the second key character, the king, or the old wise man. And the king approached the young shepherd while he was reading a book. And the king sat down next to him and started discussing the idea of chasing your personal legend. And the personal legend here is again the individual who chases his truest calling. The king mentioned the treasure, sparking Santiago's interests. But the only way he was able to know where the treasure lied or how to go to this treasure, the king would only tell him if he sold his sheep. And this is where the second lesson comes in, which is to remove yourself from this comfortable situation and test your beliefs. Because once Santiago decided to leave his comfort zone and travel to Africa, that's when the real adventure started. The moment he sold his sheep, he was robbed within hours of landing in Africa. And that leads to the third big lesson here is when you reach a crisis point where you have nothing to your name, your mindset is everything. Santiago had to pick if he wanted to be a victim of theft or an adventurer. In this troubling time, we learn the fourth biggest lesson here, which is to don't ask, but just to give. This is where he meets the third key character here, the crystal merchant. When he came across the crystal merchant's shop, instead of asking for money or food, he kindly asked if he can help clean the glasses that were on the showcase. And from doing that one simple task of giving, he was able to work there for 11 months. And Santiago, in that 11 months, earned more money than he did when he came to Africa in the first place. And he would be a rich man if he moved back to Spain. But he was starting to get comfortable again. And that leads to the fifth lesson here, which is to never settle. The shepherd has worked with Crystal Merchant for 11 months, and he had earned enough money to double his flock of sheep if he decided to go home. But instead, something was calling him, and he decided to continue to pursue this personal legend. As Santiago decided to keep pushing on towards the personal legend, his own truest self, he had to travel through the largest desert in Africa. And in this, he was able to learn his sixth lesson here. The true gift lies in the present moment. Santiago is now traveling across the largest desert in Africa, and he learned the language of the world and the universe. But the only way he was able to do this was to stay in the moment. If you focus your attention to the present moment, you'll be able to see the true beauty that's around you. Because in the desert, like the book said, if you're not in the moment, you're probably going to die in the desert. The seventh lesson here in this book was, when you are chasing your bliss, the world's going to test to see if you have the courage to keep going on. In the desert, he fell in love with a woman named Fatima. And he was at a weird position here because he had traveled far greater than any shepherd that he knew. He had earned enough money to be a rich man, and he had found his true love. It was the last person he met along his journey, the Alchemist, that said, life is testing you. But this was life testing him to see if he wanted to continue his personal legend search, because like anyone in the world, the only way you're going to be truly happy is to chase your truest self and your truest personal legend. And it's kind of funny because the moment he reached the pyramids, he realized that the journey to reach treasure itself was the real treasure. And in the art of being mindful, I encourage you guys to open yourself up to the world, listen to your heart, and follow your bliss, because This is the only way to truly live your own personal legend.